Your heart is racing and you don't know why. There's no danger in front of you, no threat, just your own mind running a simulation of disaster on a loop it refuses to shut off hour after hour for no reason you can point to. That's not just worrying too much. That's generalized anxiety disorder, and it's the first stop on this list of 19. By the end of this video, you might recognize yourself in more than one, and that's exactly why this list matters. Generalized anxiety disorder. Your brain's threat detection system is stuck in the on position, permanently scanning for danger that isn't there. Every decision feels like it could ruin your life. What to eat, what to say in a group chat. Whether that text you sent an hour ago sounded weird, distant, or too eager. People think it's just being a worrier, but worriers stop worrying once the problem is solved. You don't. The moment one worry resolves, your brain has already found the next one waiting in line. Muscles tight. Jaw clenched from grinding your teeth in your sleep. Sleep itself shallow and unrefreshing because some part of you never fully powers down. Your body is bracing for an attack that's never coming, every single day for years at a time. The exhausting part isn't the fear itself. It's that it never ends, and it never runs out of new things to attach itself to, cycling through your finances, your health, your relationships, and then, when it runs out of real material, inventing something new entirely. Panic disorder. Your brain sends a false alarm, and your body believes it completely, with total conviction in under 60 seconds. Heart pounding against your ribs, chest tight like something is sitting on it, room spinning, hands tingling, throat closing. Some people are convinced they're having a heart attack. Others are convinced they're losing their mind in public, right now, in front of everyone. People think a panic attack is just really bad anxiety, but it's actually your nervous system misfiring a full fight-or-flight response with nothing to fight and nowhere to run. The cruel twist is what happens after the first one. You start fearing the next attack so intensely that the fear alone becomes the trigger, and eventually you're not afraid of elevators or crowds anymore. You're afraid of your own heartbeat. Social anxiety disorder. Every room feels like a courtroom, and you're always the one on trial, being silently judged for things nobody else even noticed. Ordering coffee, raising your hand in class, being watched while you eat or walk or simply exist near other people. People assume it's shyness, but shyness fades once you're comfortable in a setting. This doesn't fade. The fear was never really about the people in the room. It's about the imagined verdict happening inside their heads, a verdict you've already written for them, so you rehearse sentences before you say them out loud. You replay conversations for hours afterward, hunting frame by frame for the exact moment you embarrassed yourself. Most of the time, no one else even noticed. You noticed enough for both of you, and then some, cataloging a mistake nobody else remembers making it home with you at the end of the night. Specific phobia. Your brain doesn't process degrees of danger. It only processes yes or no, safe or catastrophic, nothing in between. Heights, needles, dogs, enclosed spaces, storms. The object itself is rarely deadly, but your body reacts as though it's a guaranteed death sentence standing 3 feet away. People think you can just get over it with logic and reassurance. You can't because phobias don't live in the logical, reasoning part of your brain. They live in the amygdala, the ancient alarm system that reacts before you've even consciously registered what you're looking at. You already know, rationally, that the spider can't kill you. Knowing changes absolutely nothing about how your body responds, no matter how many times you remind yourself out loud that you are perfectly safe. Separation anxiety disorder. This isn't just a childhood thing that gets outgrown. Plenty of adults carry it quietly into every relationship they have. The moment someone you love leaves your sight, some part of your brain quietly assumes something terrible has happened to them. A late text back, an unanswered call. Suddenly you're imagining hospitals, car wrecks, worst-case scenarios stacked on top of each other. People think this is just clinginess, but clinginess wants attention for its own sake. This is dread. It's the fear that every ordinary goodbye might secretly be the last one, running quietly underneath every hug, every drop-off, every call me when you land. Agoraphobia. The safest place slowly becomes the only place you can tolerate. Crowds, open spaces, public transportation, anywhere an obvious escape route doesn't exist, and your brain starts locking the exits before you've even walked through the door. People assume agoraphobia is simply a fear of the outdoors. It's actually a fear of being trapped somewhere. A panic attack can't be controlled or escaped from, so the world shrinks in stages. First, it's certain streets, certain stores, certain crowded events you start declining. Then it's most places outside a 2-mile radius. For some people, over years, it eventually narrows down to a single room they trust, one couch, one set of walls, where the alarm system finally, quietly, agrees to rest. Obsessive-compulsive disorder. An intrusive thought arrives uninvited, disturbing, and completely unwanted, and your brain treats it like a 5-alarm emergency instead of the meaningless mental static it actually is. So you check the lock again. Wash your hands again until they crack and bleed. Count the steps again in a very specific, exact order. People think OCD is just about being neat, organized, or liking things a certain way. It has almost nothing to do with tidiness. It's a brain that cannot tolerate an uncertain thought and let it simply pass, so it manufactures rituals designed to make the unbearable feeling of doubt disappear, even for a few seconds. The relief from the ritual never lasts long. The doubt always comes back, and usually it comes back louder than before, demanding a slightly longer ritual next time just to buy the same few seconds of quiet. Illness anxiety disorder. Every small twinge in your body becomes a symptom. Every symptom becomes a diagnosis you're convinced you just haven't received yet. A headache isn't a headache anymore. It's the first sign of something catastrophic growing quietly inside your skull, and no doctor's reassurance holds for longer than a single day before the doubt creeps back in. People call this hypochondria, like it's a punchline or an exaggeration. It isn't a joke at all. It's a brain that has decided the body is a ticking time bomb, and no test result, no scan, no professional opinion can fully convince it otherwise, because the fear was never really about the illness in the first place. It's about the total absence of control. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Your brain filed a memory in the wrong drawer entirely, somewhere it never actually stops feeling like it's still happening in real time. A smell, a sound, a particular tone of voice, and suddenly, you're not standing in the present moment anymore, you're right back there, in that room, on that day. People think PTSD is simply remembering something bad that happened once. It isn't remembering at all. It's reliving, complete with the same racing heart, the same helplessness, the same physical panic, sometimes decades after the actual danger has already ended. The rest of the world moved on a long time ago. Some part of your nervous system never got the memo that it's over, and it keeps standing guard over a danger that no longer exists anywhere except inside you. Selective mutism. The words are right there, fully formed, and your throat simply refuses to release them. It usually starts in childhood, in very specific settings, like school or in front of certain relatives, while the exact same child talks freely and easily at home with people they trust. People assume it's just extreme shyness or a stubborn choice to stay quiet on purpose. It is not a choice in any real sense. It's the body's anxiety response shutting down speech entirely, the same way a panic attack can shut down rational thought, leaving a child fully capable of forming words and completely physically unable to say them out loud. Panic disorder often overlaps with something separate but closely related, substance or medication-induced anxiety disorder. Sometimes the racing heart, the spiraling thoughts, and the sense of impending doom aren't coming from your history or your wiring at all. They're coming from a chemical, too much caffeine, a new medication, withdrawal from something your body quietly got used to having. People assume anxiety always has an emotional root, some deep psychological cause waiting to be uncovered in therapy. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's your adrenal system responding to a substance exactly the way it's designed to, and the terrifying part is that it feels completely identical to real anxiety from the inside, indistinguishable, symptom for symptom, even though the trigger sitting underneath it is entirely physical. Anxiety disorder, due to a medical condition, works almost the same way, except the trigger isn't a substance, it's the body itself malfunctioning. An overactive thyroid, a heart arrhythmia, a blood sugar crash. Any of these can produce the exact sensations of a panic attack, the racing pulse, the shaking hands, the sense that something is terribly wrong without a single anxious thought ever starting it. People assume the mind causes the body's panic. Here, it's reversed entirely. The body causes what feels unmistakably like a mental breakdown, and until the underlying condition is found and treated, no amount of breathing exercises will touch it. Perinatal anxiety hits during pregnancy or in the months after having a baby, and it rarely gets talked about the way postpartum depression does. It shows up as relentless, intrusive fear about the baby's safety, checking that they're still breathing multiple times a night, refusing to let anyone else hold them, imagining tragedies in vivid, specific detail. People assume new parents are just being cautious, even overly devoted. This isn't devotion. It's a nervous system flooded with hormonal change, sleep deprivation, and the sudden crushing awareness that a helpless life now depends entirely on you, and that awareness never fully switches off, even when the baby is sleeping safely 3 feet away. Performance anxiety narrows the fear down to a single moment in time, a stage, an exam, a presentation in front of coworkers. In the days leading up to it, your mind rehearses failure on repeat, imagining every way it could go wrong in vivid, humiliating detail. People assume this is just nerves, something everyone gets a little of. But for some people, the anticipation is genuinely worse than the event itself. So much so that the fear of one bad performance can quietly shape entire career choices, entire life paths, steering someone away from rooms they were otherwise fully capable of walking into. Excoriation disorder, more commonly known as skin picking, is anxiety that never quite stays inside the mind. It leaks out through the hands. A patch of skin gets picked at over and over, sometimes without full awareness it's even happening, until it scars. People assume this is just a bad habit, something to break with enough willpower. It isn't willpower failing. It's the body converting unbearable internal tension into a physical action that offers a brief, real sense of relief, a release valve for pressure that has nowhere else to go, and the scars left behind become their own separate source of shame, layered directly on top of the original anxiety. Nocturnal panic attacks strike while you're asleep, with no dream, no nightmare, no warning at all. You wake up already mid-attack, heart slamming, drenched in sweat, gasping like you've been running, and there's no obvious trigger anywhere in the room. People assume panic needs a conscious thought to set it off, some spiraling worry that builds and builds. It doesn't. Your nervous system can trip the same alarm completely on its own, in the middle of deep sleep for reasons that often never get identified, which means the one place you're supposed to feel safest stops feeling safe at all. Adjustment disorder with anxiety shows up after a major life change, something objectively survivable, a move, a breakup, a new job, that your nervous system nonetheless treats as a genuine crisis. The anxiety feels disproportionate to what actually happened, and that's exactly the point. People assume you should simply be fine within a few weeks, since nothing catastrophic technically occurred. But the brain doesn't measure threat by severity alone. It measures it by how much your sense of stability just got disrupted, and a big enough disruption to your routine can trigger the same physiological alarm as an actual emergency. Anxiety sensitivity is different from all the rest, because the fear isn't really about spiders or crowds or germs or any external thing at all. It's the fear of anxiety itself. A slightly racing heart after climbing stairs gets misread as the start of a heart attack. A moment of dizziness gets misread as the beginning of a total breakdown. People assume anxious people are afraid of specific situations. Underneath it, many are actually afraid of their own bodily sensations, which means the fear can follow them absolutely anywhere, because their own heartbeat is never somewhere they can avoid. Health anxiety around a specific chronic diagnosis, sometimes called illness-related anxiety disorder, deserves its own separate mention, because it works in reverse of what you'd expect. This isn't fearing a disease that might exist. It's living with one that's already confirmed and watching your own anxiety escalate around every future flare-up, every possible complication, every appointment that might bring bad news. People assume that once a diagnosis is confirmed, the uncertainty ends and the anxiety should ease. Often it does the opposite. Now there's a real, documented threat to attach the fear to, and the mind treats every ordinary symptom of daily life as the first sign the condition is getting worse, whether it actually is or not. 19 different disorders, and yet one shared thread running quietly underneath every last one of them. A brain trying desperately to protect you from a danger that isn't actually there, and doing it so convincingly that your entire body believes the lie without question, over and over, for years, sometimes for an entire lifetime, without ever being named. The disorders differ wildly in what triggers them and how they show up in daily life, in a classroom, in a bedroom at 3 in the morning, in a doctor's waiting room, on a stage, in the arms of someone you love. But the core betrayal sitting at the center of every single one is exactly the same. The one system built to keep you alive, the nervous system evolution handed you specifically to protect you, is the exact system making you suffer. It fires when nothing is chasing you. It floods your body with chemicals meant for a predator that was never there. And maybe the most unsettling part of all of this is the simplest one. If you recognized even one of these disorders in yourself while watching, sitting there quietly connecting the dots, that recognition is not proof that something is fundamentally broken inside you. More often than not, it's the very first step toward finally understanding it, naming it, and learning that the system misfiring inside you can, eventually, be taught to stand down.